All right, we're going live. All right, we're live. We're back. Sorry, everybody, for the technical issues. Let us know if the audio is resolved. It should be. We had to just try something different with the setup. But now we have the pleasure of being joined once again by Bitboy Crypto, Ben Armstrong himself, who's well known in the crypto space, has been blowing up on the scene for almost 2 years now, I believe, maybe even longer. But most
Well,
recently,
I've been making content for about a little over 2 years, but really just blowing up recently. So
awesome, awesome. All right, well, so tell us, who is Bitboy Crypto? Who is Ben Armstrong?
yeah, so Bitboy Crypto is my crypto brand, and Bitboy is a superhero. Started out with the idea to create a cryptocurrency animated series, but then I found out that animating is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So I made a few little clips, and I realized the amount of time I was putting into it wasn't really equating to something that was going to be successful. So my friend told me I should start a news, doing news updates in crypto because I've been invested in Bitcoin since 2012. Know a good about it, a good amount about the space. So I started doing those videos, and over time, I've really tried to hone my craft and become a better content creator. But I am Ben Armstrong. I do more things than just crypto. So while Bitboy Crypto is my crypto brand, I'm doing a lot of other stuff as well. I've been doing internet marketing. Internet marketing is probably not the right word. I've been doing internet entrepreneurship since 2011. So that's actually how I got into Bitcoin as well.
Awesome, awesome. So let's kind of go through your entire backstory prior to crypto. What were you working on prior to crypto? Kind of tell us how you discovered crypto as well.
So I started out in 2011 with an event ticket business online. So a lot of people, here's a little background. I'm not doing it anymore, so I can give all the secrets away. A little background on internet tickets, right? You buy tickets to concerts, sporting events, Broadway shows, things like that. You buy them online. What people don't realize is basically like 95% of the sites that sell those tickets all have the exact same tickets. Ticket brokers have software, they put them all on a bunch at the same time. And so I basically got involved in that, started advertising on Craigslist. And within probably about 18 months, I was making, well into six figures doing that basically out of nothing. I was working at a car wash,
Wow.
before I started that in 2011. And, it really blew up and I learned a lot of things. But, one reason why I'm passionate about decentralization is because I basically fell victim in 2013, I believe, or 2014 to centralization with Craigslist. So Craigslist, I had a huge operation. I had 15 computers in my office, constantly posting ads. At one time, I was about 1% of all Craigslist ads. I was posting over 800,000 ads a day for tickets. And a lot of people in the ticket business were doing that. And what happened is Craigslist didn't like that. And so they basically changed our entire setup, making us now where we had to pay $5 per ad instead of them being free. And so they shut down the software that I used. And the guy who ran the software, eventually came up with a way to keep it running. And it was through accepting Bitcoin. And that was, somewhere in the 2012 range. So that's how I got into finding out about Bitcoin. And that was kind of my first, foray into internet marketing and online entrepreneurship. I ran the ticket company for, I guess, from 2011 to last year. So I ran it for 8 years. But after Craigslist made this huge change, it was like my income every year got cut in half for 4 or 5 years after that. So eventually I had to start something else. And so I've had a lot of very unsuccessful online businesses as well. I've done probably 10 different online businesses, and I've done a very unsuccessful YouTube channel as well in the past. And so in 2018 is when I really got into content creation and doing it a little better than I had done it before. So, but yeah, lot of big failures in between hitting it big the first time and then finally finding some success with crypto content creation and beyond.
Okay, I mean that's a pretty incredible story. So you were making six figures with your event business, mainly via Craigslist.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So I was making about 350K in 18 months a year. And that went on for about 2 years. Wow. And then all of a sudden, everything just got pulled out from under my feet at one time. So
now kind of walk us through the process of building a business that large, that brings in that much money. Because I'm especially in times like this, as we're heading into really tough economic climate, lots of people might be working at home. So they
Mm,
definitely are searching for means to make money online.
right.
So walk us through the process or system, or how you really thought to build something so successful.
Yeah. So that's how much I was making. The actual ticket website was bringing in about, it brought in during its time like well over $10 million in sales. And uh, here's the key. The key is that there are things out there that you can make money with online and do very well. However, the things that are truly worth it, that are truly like you can start and scale pretty quick, they're hard to find. Because if you just Google how to make money online, here's a little phrase I say all the time. The number one way to make money online is to tell people how to make money online, right? That's like the number
Yeah.
one niche, so everybody's searching for that. But the actual things that will make you money are harder to find. And so I got basically pretty lucky when I found the ticket business. The way I discovered is I was looking for tickets for a Falcons game. It was a Falcons Packers playoff game. We got, destroyed in that game in 2012 in January that year. And looking for the tickets, I was able to kind of figure out like, hey, all of these websites can't have they can't have the exact same set of tickets. There has to be a network that I can get into. So I started firing off emails, and I was basically able to reverse engineer what all these people were doing. They just had these websites that were given to them for free from a company to sell the tickets. And then you got paid a commission on every ticket that you sold. So it was very easy. Reverse engineering is very important. When you find out what somebody's doing online to make money, they'll tell you how to do it, but they're never going to tell you their exact method, because then they're not going to be able to be successful. You become their competition. So really like learning how people are making money online is much more research oriented. And so you got to really figure out exactly what they're doing. And so that's what I was able to do. And at that point, the key is once you find something that works, then you got to find out how to scale it. I didn't have 15 computers running software 24 hours a day the first week. I found one software I could use and I had one computer. But once I realized that method was working, then there was no limit really to what I could scale up. There did become a point of, diminishing returns at some point where it's just like there was no reason for me to post more ads. But that was basically what I did. I found something that worked and I scaled it. Most of the things you find online for people teaching you how to make money and stuff, there's going to be principles and concepts in almost anything that someone makes like that, of course, that is going to be able to make you money. But in reality, like you're going to have to get down in the dirt, do research, and figure out something that works for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. This also reminds me of the story of Airbnb. So early on, when they were trying to grow, they would also post ads for Airbnbs on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, they ended up getting enough traction to a point where they didn't really have to do it anymore. But I mean, it's pretty incredible how long Craigslist has been around, and how powerful of a platform it's been.
Yeah, it's such a just plain website. Like they've never really done that much to change it. But for people that make their livings on Craigslist, I mean, it's actually a very, very difficult process. You're constantly dealing with them, flagging your ads and, just kind of determining like what they think is good and what's not. Like nothing I was doing was a scam. It was legitimate tickets that people were buying. And yet they seem to really punish our section more than other places, kind of like with crypto on YouTube. We make crypto videos that's good quality content, and YouTube seems to pick on us. And that was the same thing that happened in the ticket section with Craigslist. Because the funny thing is that, and this is just centralization at its core, Craigslist wanted to hurt us because we were making money on there, but yet there was probably never been a scam in the tickets by dealer section on Craigslist. That's the safest place to buy tickets. They really wanted to push the tickets by owner stuff because they felt like that was better for their image. But in reality, now, almost all the ticket by owner listings on Craigslist are scams. Almost every single one of them. Do not go to Craigslist to buy tickets from another person because chances are you're getting scammed almost every time. So it was like they were trying to protect the tickets by owner, which had so many scams. But our section, they were trying to push us down because we were making money and they didn't like that. So, but yeah, Craigslist is definitely it's its own world over there for sure. I'm glad I don't have to post tickets or ads on Craigslist for sure.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the company was making $10 million a year. Now, was this your company or a company you were working with?
Well, it was my company. So once again, the ticket business, and you really discover this when you get into other people's businesses. Like there's so many things out there that you think you understand how it works, but you really have no idea. Like the event ticket business is just like that. Almost every sale in the event ticket business outside of, maybe if you go directly to StubHub or directly to Ticketmaster, it's all affiliate sales. Almost every ticket website is affiliate driven. And so it's basically, I had the website. It was my website. I owned it. They give you a free one, a larger company called Ticket Network, but you could go outside of that and create a revamped, upgraded website, which I did. And so my job was to get people to my website. Once people got to my website and found the tickets that they wanted, they would click that. Once they click buy tickets, it would take them to a website that looked like mine, but it was really controlled by, I worked with a company called Ticket Network. So it was really controlled by Ticket Network. So they did all of the shipping. They did all of the, payment processing. They did all of the customer service. I had a customer service email, but it would immediately forward to them. And so my whole job was to get traffic. And then I got, between 10 and 15%, on every sale. And like the most expensive set of tickets I ever sold was probably, I made some that were $20,000 plus ticket sales. I made some Super Bowl ticket sales that were around that. Yeah. So, when I was getting 10 to 15% of that on one sale, that was good. And at my peak, I was doing about 35 to 40 sales a day. So the average ticket price was like $200 a ticket. So,
man, I think we have to change the title of the show. Great work. So first of all,
shut up and take my money. Shut up and take my money.
Congrats for anybody who's had that level of success prior to crypto. That's incredible. As an entrepreneur, as somebody who's also been very active with online marketing and just internet-based businesses. I know scaling a business, any business in any industry, to 10 million annually is incredible, right? So job well done.
Thank you.
All right, so you were doing that. Then Craigslist came in as a platform and kind of saw people were doing whatever they were doing. They wanted to basically control it. And They began to really impact your entire business model. And then you discovered crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Now,
so what happened exactly is that the software, I used a software called Clad, CLAD. It was a Craigslist auto posting software.
I know Clad, yeah.
Oh, you know Clad. Okay, great. Yeah. So the guy who owns that, it was super, super, super rich because he started taking Bitcoin in 2012. But Craigslist had shut down his, through ICANN, the internet regulation service. They shut down his website and he couldn't process payments anymore. So that's when in 2012, he decided like, hey, I'm going to start taking this thing called Bitcoin. And then my first Bitcoin transaction was in, my first email where I ever learned about it was in November of 2012. And then I was making transactions by December of that year.
Now, how did you discover Bitcoin? In that email, that was from Clad? That was from a friend?
Clad sent us an email. Their payment processing had been down for about 6 months. And they said, listen, guys, we're down. We can't accept payments right now, but you're going to have to catch up your monthly payment whenever we can, accept it.
Wow.
And so, I had, I think 8 licenses at the time where I could run 2 per license. So I had a lot of them and they were about $1,000 a piece. I had a lot of money invested into it and it was making me a lot of money. So, I said, that's fine. I'll catch it up. And so I got an email from Clad and they said, hey, we got this crazy solution. It's this thing called Bitcoin. And I've also done a lot of online gambling in my life. I played semi-professional poker for a while, traveling around on the World Series of Poker circuit. I'd like to go play in Las Vegas in the summer. This year, I hear it's going to be in the fall. But so I've done a lot of online gambling. Now, when I saw this email about this thing called Bitcoin, I interpreted that to be very similar to what back in, in the early, 2000s, you would use for online gambling, like an e-wallet. Like I thought it was kind of like an e-wallet, like I think one was called like NetTeller or something like that, where you can make transactions online, but it wasn't like you were just putting your credit card number in. And so I thought I had this little Bitcoin rinky-dink thing. I'm sure it won't be anything. And if I would have had any idea what I was looking at when I first got into it, I'd be in a much different place financially now. So I would have invested a lot more is the long and the short of it. So Yeah, that's how I found out about Bitcoin and kind of my initial thoughts on it. I tried to understand it
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in 2013. I really tried to wrap my mind around it, but people really don't understand what level of information and education is out there right now on crypto. Back in 2012, there was basically nothing. There was basically a site that looked like a GeoCities site, from the 90s that was like explaining who Satoshi Nakamoto was. And they thought at the time he was actually a Japanese man. And so I was like getting all this information that was like totally wrong about Bitcoin. They were talking about mining and algorithms, and like it was all way over my head at the time. So
Wow. So pretty early in Bitcoin. Now, did you believe in the ethos of Bitcoin, or was it more just, hey, I'm just trying to solve this problem, then I'll research the rest later? So how did you kind of fall down this rabbit hole and now become a crypto content creator?
Right. So basically what happened is I had put well over $10,000 into Bitcoin at that time, but I was putting it in to make transactions with, like, what it's actually supposed to be for. So, yeah, I was using it to make transactions. And of course, if I would have kept all of that money in Bitcoin, then, and not done transactions with it, like the famous 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza guy, then, I would have been worth a lot more. But what happened is I didn't really understand it. And that's one thing when I try to talk to people about investing in cryptocurrency, like you have to have some level of understanding of what you're looking at, because that impacts your investment decisions. Do I understand all the underlying technology of blockchain? No, I'm not a developer by any stretch of the imagination. I do understand the idea of decentralization for sure. And of course, after being in the space for a long time, I understand more of the technology. But I didn't understand it back then. And I didn't really see the purpose of it, honestly. And so, I remember in November of 2013, when, the peak hit of that bull run, I met a guy in a McDonald's and I sold him my Bitcoin from localbitcoins.com. We went and met in McDonald's, got on the Wi-Fi. I sold him a bunch. He's probably rich now. And I made, several $1,000s, but it was nothing to what it could have been. So what really, really piqued my interest in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency, was in 2016, 2017, when the price started going way up. And I started doing all the math in my head of like, man, if I wouldn't have sold my Bitcoin, then I would be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars right now. But instead, I made a few $1,000s because I didn't understand what I was looking at. So that's really what drives me in the space, is being able to look back. Now, look, during 2014, 15, 16, in 2013, when Mt. Gox crashed, I guess that would have been it would have been 2014, I think, when that did, in February of that year. That was when I kind of just wrote Bitcoin off and said, probably nothing is going to happen from it. I thought it was over. I got the email. I have a Mt. Gox claim still. I had some still in there. So hopefully I'll see that money at some point. But I wrote it off like, I guess it's not ever going to go anywhere. But I watched the price. I would watch Coinbase. I would watch what was going on with the price, but I wasn't like super invested into it. I had other stuff I was doing with my time. But when 2017 hit and the prices started skyrocketing, I started doing the math. That's when I knew like I had really messed up big time. And because of that, that's what drives me in the space to try to evangelize people about cryptocurrency. So you don't have to make the same mistake that I made, because, you wouldn't be doing this channel. I wouldn't be in this space unless we believe that there still are huge opportunities for people to be able to change their lives financially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's now go to, how did you begin creating content for crypto? What was the thought process? So you mentioned being able to share your story and kind of be an example to others. And I can kind of delve into when you launched the channel, what it took, lessons learned.
So I got a lot of lessons I can give for sure, because I've learned a lot over the last few months, really specifically. But in 2017, an old friend that I hadn't talked to in a long time, we connected over crypto. He sent me a message. It was like, hey, I saw you I was still on Facebook at the time. I saw you make a Facebook status about Bitcoin. Like, I've gotten really into it. And so we started talking about it and really like kind of fleshing out like, different ideas about investing and things. And we came up with this idea to create the animated cartoon series, Bitboy Crypto. And so, it was just Bitboy, and Hodl was the name of the show. Hodl is a turtle. So hopefully one day we can still see the cartoon get made. But like I said, we were putting so much time into it and we weren't really getting any results. And he said, hey, you got a very good way of explaining things to people. So you should make a news channel basically where you talk about crypto. So I said, okay. So I gave it a shot. First few videos were terrible or whatever, but I started making content, and, like Gary Vee says, which, I'm not a Gary Vee guy, but one thing that he says is that if you're thinking about creating content, just make it. You can spend all the time in the world planning it out and deciding what you want to do, but until you actually make content, you're not going to get better. So every content creator, when you look back on the history of your channel, you'll always see points of extreme growth, of not number wise, but I mean, personally with the way that you create content. So, I look back on those early videos and they weren't that great. And I came up with a style, which was basically where I'm just on the, on the screen. I green screen myself on. I talk about crypto. But what I found is that at some point, I just was not growing at all. I had been doing the channel for a year and a half, and I had like 10,000 subscribers. I was doing okay. I wasn't doing terrible. But my watch time wasn't good. My community wasn't really growing like it should and things like that. So I decided to try something totally new, and I started writing scripts. And for me personally, when I started writing scripts on my channel and actually doing more professional video editing, it took the amount of time it, took for me to make a video from 1 hour to 4 to 6 hours. But the amount of growth has been incredible. I mean, I was at 12,000 subscribers at the beginning of this year, and now we're almost completing 4 months, and I'm now at like 36,000. So I basically 3x my channel in 6 months just by, changing the style. And so that may not work for everybody. Maybe you're not a great script writer or whatever, but the important part is to realize when you create content, it's all about constantly evolving and changing. I watch videos on how to improve your YouTube videos. If you just get comfortable in the way that you're doing things, then eventually you're always going to get capped out on how much you can grow.
I mean, so that's incredible. So congrats on that. 3x in basically 4 months.
Yeah.
And just from one move of switching from, so earlier you were doing what? Just impromptu videos?
Yeah. I mean, talking is a talent of mine. that's what all my teachers said growing up, which was, I talk too much. So, I've always been pretty good with words. I've always been a good speaker. I've done some other kinds of nonprofit work where I did some speaking and things, on behalf of some different, groups. So I've got a good bit of public speaking under my belt. And so for me, like that was what was comfortable, was just me getting up. And when I say public speaking, it wouldn't be like I would sit down and write down an outline. It'd be like I'd have an idea I want to talk about, and I'd go on stage, and I'd start talking. And, I could flesh out ideas as I was coming up with them. But what I found is that was that was just me being lazy, And in reality, when you're able to actually sit and format your content the way you want it to be heard, it's much more powerful. And so, that was the thing that I did. I totally changed my style. You're in a lot more control in general. Like if I say, hey, like let's say it's a video I want to put a ref link in. Like a lot of times I would just start talking on the channel, and then I get to the end of the video and I'd be like, dang it, I didn't even talk about what I want. I didn't even give that thing I wanted to give, because I was relying purely on my brain to come up with the time I needed to say things. So now I'm able to structure things a lot better, and people like structure, from what I found for sure. And then, also increasing my editing as well. So use a lot of stock videos in my, content and things like that.
So do you edit all your own content?
I've edited all. I've been a one-man show for a very, very long time. Ever since I started, maybe you heard before we went on air, I just hired an assistant to help me with my editing. It's my sister. So, she's in the background here, helping me edit my, one of my videos, but it's still going to be the same style and everything like that. I'm just with the TikTok stuff I have going on. I have a second YouTube channel that's actually bigger than my crypto channel now. Like I have a lot, going on. Yeah. In terms of, creating
what channel
content.
is that?
CEO of Facts, or Facts CEO is, I think, on YouTube. So I've got 42,000 subscribers now. I grew that channel in about 2 months. So 2 months, I've gotten 42K there.
Wow. So, okay. So back step, let's talk about TikTok and CEO of Facts and how that ties to YouTube and how you launched that and really went viral pretty fast.
Yeah. So TikTok was an app that I had seen on Instagram. So I had been on Instagram, and, I just check my Instagram daily or whatever. And sometimes it will give me suggested videos. And there was this one video that was this dance, and it was such a crazy dance. And it was, these two girls or whatever, they've got a pretty big YouTube or a pretty big TikTok channel. And it was just one song. And the dance was so interesting because it wasn't in normal speed. And so it just was an intriguing video. I don't know what it was about that video that made me say, like, what is this? And so it was from TikTok. And so I clicked on the video and I watched it. And, I guess because Instagram's a big spy app, all of a sudden I started getting ads for TikTok. And so, we've all seen the ads on TikTok for sure, if you're on social media. And so in March of 2019, so last year, about a little over a year ago, I downloaded the app. And the first time I downloaded it and I started scrolling through the timeline there called the For You page, I was hooked. I was just sitting there laying down on the bed watching it for an hour and a half before I even realized I was watching it. And I was like, man, this is really incredible content that's on here. There's a lot of funny stuff. There's some dancing. There's skits. There's magic tricks. There's all kinds of stuff. And TikTok's much different than any other platform we've seen before because of its huge organic reach. So you're able to see all kinds of content from people that you don't necessarily follow without having to go to, like I know Instagram has, I think recommended, you got to go to a separate tab. This is your main timeline that you're seeing content from. And so did a little research on it, found out it used to be Musical.ly or whatever. Never dreamed I would make content on there because it's the target demographic there is 16 to 24. So I'm 37 years old. Some people think I'm 50, but I'm 37, which kind of bothers me, but it's okay. So, I never dreamed I would make content on there. And then I started thinking, you know what, if I'm going to be on this app so much, I might as well make content. So I made a couple crypto videos. My original account was Bitboy Crypto. Made a couple crypto videos. I made one I thought was really funny. There was this trend on TikTok that was like, had the song from The Script, Welcome to the Hall of Fame. And you would basically walk into a door and then you would be playing a bunch of different characters that were in the Hall of Fame. And so I did one like Crypto Scam Hall of Fame. So like, Quadriga CX was the new one that came in. And then of course you had, BitConnect and you had, Mt. Gox. And I can't remember who the other one was. I thought it was really funny, but it got no traction because of the fact nobody cares about crypto on TikTok really. So over time, I just kind of like that was my first TikTok, which was in June of last year. I just made a small handful of TikToks until November. Really the beginning of November, I started making content every day. I think I had less than 10 TikToks between June and November. And once I started daily content, I just blew up. I mean, I started talking about interesting things like the dark web. People love my dark web videos. I do videos on, talked about serial killers. I've talked about child killers, like morbid true crime stuff. Like people really, really enjoy that kind of content on TikTok. So once I started doing those videos, I had, in my first month of creating content, I had almost hit 50,000 followers. And then by the second month, I hit 100,000. And then, in the middle of February, I hit 1 million. So now I'm at 1.6 million. There's been a huge influx of content onto TikTok due to everybody being home. And that's kind of, messed up the algorithm. So the growth rate hasn't been quite as high, but I should be hitting, I think, 1.6 million here in the next few days. So
wow,
it's exciting
amazing,
stuff,
man. Amazing. Congrats on all the success.
Thank you.
So in terms of creating content or a video for TikTok, what's the process? I assume you also script that out as well?
Sometimes. It really depends on what it is. So my format is really, they call it, rant style. Like there's several different categories. You've got dancing, lip syncing, comedy, magic, whatever it might be. I rant. So that means I basically tell stories or I report news. So if it's a news story, then I'll just like use a green screen in the TikTok video. The internal TikTok editor has a kind of like Zoom does. You don't actually have to have a green screen to use it. And so I use that filter. Yeah, use that filter. I'll put, something behind me. You can do that with videos also. So you can have a video playing behind you and I'll talk about whatever it is. So when I'm telling a story, sometimes I'll really script it out pretty well. But if it's a news update about, I usually cover like crazy news or news that's geared towards teenagers, like talking about how now colleges aren't necessarily requiring ACT or SAT scores to get in college because of everything that's happened over the last few months. So a story like that, like kids are really like into that. So, if that's the case, I'll just kind of summarize the article or whatever. But the thing about TikTok is the more you script it, like make it professional, they don't really want it. You don't really want super professional videos on TikTok. That's not really what people are after. They want to see real people. So I tried doing some videos before where I put a really nice background behind me and I edited on my, actual video editor and then put it on. And they didn't do really that well. The thing about TikTok is you're following people, not necessarily ideas or content. So a lot of like meme pages, there have been some meme pages that do video memes. There's a small handful that do very well, but people have this idea like I can just go steal a meme from YouTube and I can put it on TikTok and I'll blow up. But the TikTok algorithm doesn't really work like that. It doesn't favor that kind of content. It really favors people. So you got to show your personality, really. And people want to see what your house looks like. They want to see you recording in your house and, things like that. So TikTok, it needs to be more of a natural style than a really polished professional style, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely going to have to try out TikTok. I did post one video, but for me, I'm not, I viewed TikTok more as kind of acting, right? Where you have to be really entertaining on camera.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm kind of very low key, very mellow. But you know what? With your examples, I think I definitely have to give more effort into TikTok for sure.
Yeah. And I will say, and I have a lot of content creators in the space, ask me about TikTok, obviously, because I'm the king of the crypto TikTokers that doesn't talk about crypto. But crypto is not, and I was surprised by this. I thought like the demographic there would be very accepting of cryptocurrency, but they're very leery of it, mostly because they probably hear their parents all the time saying that, Bitcoin's a scam or whatever the case may be. So crypto content is probably not going to do incredibly great on TikTok. However, investing content actually is pretty good there. So if you have more investment style videos, if you're in crypto and you want to make content for TikTok and you want to kind of keep it in the vein of what you're already doing, there are some pretty big successful investing TikTokers. So you could weave crypto into that, but you could also kind of talk about, the stock market, stimulus checks, the whole 9 yards.
Awesome. So let's take some questions here from the audience.
Sure.
So let's see what they have. So this is going out to YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook as well. Laughing World has a comment. Ian and Bitboy. Nice. Thank you for that. Okay. Question here from Carl Monty. Bitboy, I like your content, but you flip-flop so much. Any reason why?
Do I really flip-flop? That's the question you got to really ask yourself. Here's the thing, is that cryptocurrency is all about getting new information. You get new information daily. And if you think I flip-flop, go scroll Twitter on a day that the price is down, and then go scroll it on a day the price is up. And that's what markets are driven by, is sentiment. So the overall sentiment is bullish, then you want to make bullish videos. If the overall sentiment is bearish, you want to make bearish videos because that's what people are interested in during that time. The fact is, and I'll say this over and over and over again, none of us know what's happening. None of us know where this is going for sure. And so daily, my opinion on things could change, but I say that in the videos. But the thing that really gets me is if you really watch my videos, I don't say a lot of different things. I always context it with, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. This could be happening soon, but people hate bearish thumbnails. That's what it boils down to. If you have a thumbnail where I had one video where, the thumbnail was sell your altcoins. And the video was actually about, as Bitcoin halving approaches and the price of Bitcoin goes up, should you consolidate some of your altcoin holdings into Bitcoin? Totally logical rationale, right? Totally logical. But people see the thumbnail, they do click on it, and then they get really upset because, the video is, where I'm not at the very beginning, just like sell all your altcoins. It's terrible. Like, guys, clickbait is what makes the internet go round. If you're one of these people that complains about clickbait and sensationalized thumbnails and titles, then you haven't been following the history of media, because the history of media has been sensationalized headlines since the first newspaper was ever written. That's how you get people to view your content. There was a point in my content creation journey where I realized that it's not necessarily about what I want to talk about. If every day I came in here and I talked about one of my favorite altcoins that you guys may not necessarily know, people are going to get tired of that and they're not going to, watch the content. What good is creating content if people aren't going to view it, if they're not going to click on it? So yes, like your favorite newspaper, I work hard to make thumbnails and titles that are going to get people to click. But if you will watch those videos from the start to finish, you'll see they're pretty logical, rational videos. The problem is that YouTube does not reward content. YouTube has no way to grade the quality of your content. The only way that YouTube knows how to get people to, view your video is based upon the engagement level of people that have already viewed your video. So you have to gear your content that way. I hate it. I wish I could just make every title every day like, hey, Bitcoin may go up today. Like that would be great. If I could just do that and people would watch the content, but they don't. And some people have a really hard time distinguishing the difference between, clickbait, which we all use in the YouTube world, every YouTuber does, and, the actual basis of the video. So people will see the headline, they'll go to the video and they'll dislike it before they even watch the video.
Well said. Well said. I mean, I think that's definitely the truth. Next question. Somebody's asking for your top 5 altcoin picks, and definitely not financial advice.
Yeah, definitely not financial advice. Okay. So I would say my top 5 altcoin picks, a coin I'm very passionate about is IOST. I love IOST. It has really been beaten down over the last year in the rankings. It just had in the Chinese crypto rankings that came out, that I think the CCEP, is that what it's called? Whatever it is, it's their regulation body or whatever. They came up with the Chinese rankings about 2 years ago. They've been changing, but IOST recently was in the top 5. The price is down right now. I run a node for them, a block producing node. So it's a project not only do I love, but I'm also like heavily involved with. So IOST would definitely be coming in. I would say also for sure. Now these are in no particular order, I guess. The coin I'm the most bullish on is CRO, CRO. And MCO as well, crypto.com. I think crypto.com has a huge opportunity to be the next Binance because they're doing a lot of things. You can earn, exchange, spend your crypto. I've got a crypto.com card I use as well. I do think crypto.com is a very powerful player in the game. They have great advertising. They work with a lot of content creators. And I think all that, people would say like, well, if they're so great, why do they have to work with content creators? Well, that's part of an advertising plan. And that shows that they understand how to get, attention to their product. And that's a lot of smarts. You look at projects like Cardano, and Cardano wishes that they would have a marketing team that could push it out like Tron gets pushed out or, other projects. That's a complaint that they have a lot, the Cardano community. So I would say MCO and CRO, I kind of put together. Also definitely IOST along with that. Binance coin, BNB. BNB has shown an ability to climb even when Bitcoin is not climbing. It hit an all-time high in 2019 when the price of Bitcoin was down. So I think that Binance coin to me seems to be like I've called it a recession-proof coin, where even if we do go into a huge financial downswing, people are still going to need to be trading, and Binance is still the number one trading site out there. So BNB is another one I'm bullish on. And then, it's hard not to be bullish on Chainlink. Like it's really difficult. I saw a tweet the other day where someone said, Chainlink is at the top because, all these content creators are now saying, Chainlink is going to the moon. Well, content creators were saying that a year ago. Creators were saying that when it was at an all-time high. And up until we had the crash in March, it still continued to move up a very, very large, considerable amount. So definitely bullish on Chainlink. I know it's kind of cliche, like everybody's bullish on Chainlink, whatever, but I do think that it definitely has a big opportunity. And then out of the rest of the coins, if I had to pick a 5th one, I would probably go with Ethereum. I mean, you can't really go against Ethereum. I mean, I do think it has a huge opportunity. Decentralized finance is huge. It's going to continue to be big. I think that it's only going to get bigger. Now, we did have the news that came out recently that stable coins were getting banned. And then, all the YouTubers like stable coins are over, blah, blah, blah. Once again, remember what I said about clickbait. I did a video on it and actually looked very in depth into the actual report itself, which was from I think it was the FBS, I think.
FSB.
Financial Stability Board, right?
Yeah.
So, and you actually read the report, and there's some very concerning things in the report that they're going to try to do. But like what happened with Chinese crypto ban? Like, what did that really do to the price? Nothing, all these crypto bans, like in India, they had this crypto ban, but like people in India still bought crypto. It was really just like businesses weren't really allowed to get into blockchain. So there's been a lot of things we've seen similar to this. None of it has worked. The thing about the report is they say that like, if it's decentralized, then it's definitely not going to work. Well, if it's decentralized, you can't control it. So it's sorry about that. Like there's nothing you can really do. As long as there's a will for people to trade it and to use it, then it's going to continue. But the real crux of that report, the thing that I take from it would be a better way to say that, is that this is 4 or 5 years away. Even if they want to put in a huge ban, that's 4 or 5 years from now. They're going to have to give places time to get compliant. They're going to have to come up with the regulations. The world community is going to have to agree to it, because part of what was in the report is they're asking the entire world to take part in it to prevent people from doing what's called regulation arbitrage, which is like, why Binance or any other crypto company, why they move from country to country. It's like, okay, well, we don't like your laws, we're going to go to another country. So every country in the world would have to be on board with it. And there's probably going to be some that aren't going to be, which would still provide an opportunity for people to be able to, conduct their stablecoin business. But even if all that happens, worst case scenario, that's going to have zero effect on this bull run that we're going to come up to. It's going to have zero effect on prices over the next 2 years. There might've been some initial panic, but because of that, I see DeFi still continuing to grow, and Ethereum is really, resurfaced as the king of DeFi, where for a long time I was really questioning the long-term viability of Ethereum. So I think ETH definitely has a good opportunity to rise. UBT is another one I'm pretty big on right now. I'll just throw that out there for people.
Next question from Gideon. He's asking, are you still in BitDAO or BitDAO?
Yeah, still in it. I think, did you guys do a review on it?
Yes.
I saw some on the website.
Yeah. What wasn't the most glowing?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we could be wrong, But
well, here's the thing about it is I did a video on it, and I have some money in it. I like it. I like their ideas. Obviously, we know they've got a lot of big partnerships, or the word partnership is used loosely in crypto, very loosely. So Binance tweeted about them. They have a partnership with Chainlink. They have a partnership with Tron. They also have, I think there's another company. I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if they actually released it or not. But the day after I did the review, all of a sudden there was all kinds of stuff released literally the day after that did not exist the day before about some stuff about the company. And so ever since I did the review, I've been, researching those things. And I've been able to come to no final decisions on what I think about the content that's been presented. I've reached out to a lot of different companies, and I've been doing a lot of information gathering, reached out to other influencers. So far, I've seen nothing that would really make me think that BitDAO is not on the up and up by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, like, I'd still have some things out there. I'm waiting to hear back from people. I reached out to Binance. I got some information from them. And nothing that made me think anything bad about it, but I've been really trying to do more research, since some things surfaced. Like, once again, I will reiterate, did not exist. None of the stuff that came out, it came out literally the day after I did the video. So I did my research on it the best that I could, but when you're dealing with new emerging technologies, that especially when they're newer projects, you don't have the full information.
Okay, so on the show, we like to put our guests in the hot seat. So it's time for you to go into the hot seat. Now, don't worry, this is actually a good hot seat.
Okay.
So rapid fire style. First question we have for you is, what are 3 books you've read that have changed your life or inspired you?
3 books that I have read that have changed my life and inspired me. I would say I'll throw the Bible on there, right? So I'm a Christian, and I definitely do read that, and that kind of lifestyle kind of determines the way that I live my life. So gotta throw out there. I would say probably this is not necessarily a book that is a nonfiction book where people can really take it and learn from it. But, when I was a kid, I read Where the Red Fern Grows. I love that book, right? That was a great book. And,
what's that called again?
Where the Red Fern Grows. It's
Okay.
it's about a boy and his dogs. It's I think a Pulitzer Prize winner book. So it's a very very well known book. And that really was like when I started my love of reading. I was reading that in the second grade, and that book has always stuck with me. It's about dogs, and I have 4 dogs now. So another book that I have read that has really made an impact on me. Let me think here for a second on what that would be. I read a lot of tweets. Okay, a lot of 140 character tweets. Okay, I would probably say another book that had a big impact on me was Josh Hamilton. The Josh Hamilton biography. If you never read it, Josh Hamilton was the #1 overall draft pick in major leagues, and he ended up getting into a crack addiction. And he has had a really crazy life ever since then. And that book, to me, I was going through some hard things in my life when I read that book back in the 2007, I think is when I read it, or 2008. And that book really made an impact on me and stuck with me. And it really just showed me like the importance of this idea that like who you surround yourself with is going to impact you. For him, he surrounded himself with negative people. He had an injury, and he started, not that people who get tattoos are bad, but he started hanging out when he had this injury in the major leagues in this tattoo parlor. And in the tattoo parlor, like people were doing drugs and they were doing all kinds of stuff. And he kind of like slipped into that lifestyle. And, I read a lot more books about character than I do about investing. I get most of my investing advice from, I call do your own research, watch 5 YouTubers and make a decision. That's kind of a joke, but I'm more of an online reader than sit down and pop open a novel. My wife would kill me though, because she has a book blog. So.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, definitely appreciate those books. So Josh Hamilton biography and Where the Red Fern Grows.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Who are 3 people? Hold on. So besides family and friends, who are 3 people present or living in history that have inspired you?
3 people living who have inspired me or throughout history.
No. Dead or
alive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with George Washington as my #1, my numero uno. I love George Washington. He's like, the stuff he did in his life is really, really, really crazy. And if it was not for George Washington, like I think people don't realize the importance that he had on this country. If George Washington did not exist, there's a good chance we would have lost that war. He was like the sole leadership of the revolution at certain points. And then he, of course, also turned down being the king. They wanted him to be the king. So he really understood the balance of power. Right. We got to go with Patrick Henry, right? Give me liberty or give me death. Right. Like that. That's such a great quote to live by. You give me freedom. I want freedom for sure. Even if it's something that I have to sacrifice for, you see a lot of stuff going on over in China right now that's not good at all. Who knows what it has to do with our current pandemic, but they've got like crazy concentration camps over there and all kinds of stuff. And, there's more people living there than people who are in the government. So if the people wanted to have a revolution, they could. And that's really what China, tries to prevent and things like that. So I would definitely say Patrick Henry. I love that idea. And then I know I'm going to all Americans here, but I'm an all American guy. I'm going Benjamin Franklin, right? Benjamin Franklin, he was a very interesting character. He had a lot of investing advice, a lot of investing quotes, a lot of inventions that he created. And he was kind of a jack of all trades. And that's kind of what I think of myself as. I'm in all kinds of stuff, master of none, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. So I haven't, invented something or discovered something as crazy as electricity though. So I'll be flying a kite maybe soon for that.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I think lots of people in the crypto world would like to join that kite.
Yeah.
All right. So last question in the hot seat. What are the 3 actions you took that completely transformed your life?
Okay. 3 actions I took that completely transformed my life. Well, the #1 thing I would say is that, for me personally, I got off drugs. So when I was in my teenage years, in my early 20s, I was a drug addict, really and truly. So
Mm-hmm.
I overdosed. I was in a coma for 3 days. I almost died.
Oh, wow.
And that changed my life completely. So I've been sober now for like, what year is it? Like 13, 14 years, somewhere around there. But for me personally, yeah, thank you. So I don't get into it a lot on my channel or, when I talk about stuff like that, but I can't talk about changing my life without bringing that up. I didn't have anything, so that was definitely, something that changed my life. Another thing that changed my life was, learning to put structure, learning to have structure in your life. I think structure is very important, getting up at a certain time, doing things a certain way. When you work from home, it can be really hard to put that structure in. And so because of that, I think that, putting structure in my life allowed me to do online school. It's allowed me to work from home. A lot of people, especially during this pandemic, they probably have realized that it's harder than it seems to work from home. And the third thing I would say is, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, is to be authentic, learning how to be authentic and learning how to be vulnerable. And, in content creation, like you saw in a question, like sometimes I'm going to say something and then later on I'm going to say a different thing, but I'm going to feel comfortable enough to know that it's okay if you get new information. I'm going to tell you what I honestly think instead of making videos for an entire year and every day saying, the price is going to $1 million tomorrow. Like at some point, it's the boy that cries wolf. And so you have to be authentic with who you are and authentic with your audience. And I think that's really been a key for me to be able to grow, not just in crypto, but also in TikTok and my other YouTube channel as well, because people pick up on the fact that I'm like actually authentic. I'm like a real person and I'll give you my honest opinion on things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure having you on here, Ben. Any last words? Where can people learn more about you, follow you, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all that?
Sure. First, I would like to throw out another book, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You really threw me off with the book question. I should have had some books prepared. I've read a lot of books, but for some reason, when you asked me the question, none of them came to me. I just remembered the first book I ever read, the book I read the most, and I picked another. 1984 by George Orwell. It's a great book. I love that book. It really kind of puts into perspective our society where we're at now. It seems like we're actually living in a post 1984 world right now. So if you haven't read 1984, you should definitely go read that. People can find me on YouTube, Bitboy Crypto. You can find me on Twitter, Bitboy_crypto. You can find me on Instagram, the same thing. TikTok, it's at Facts CEO. And you can also find my YouTube channel that I do extensions of my TikTok videos. It is Facts CEO or CEO of Facts, either one on YouTube.
All right. Well, the CEO of Facts has spoken. That's a fact.
And that's on Facts. That's my tagline.
And so thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on. Until next time, as we like to say, the moon is not the limit, to the moon and beyond. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.
Bye.